Here we are, 10 seconds late. Dave's giving me crap.
We're getting
You are
considering
machine.
your last week. Considering your last week, we'll take 10 seconds.
I'm not doing too bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Duluth Conservative YouTube show. We're desperately trying to make upgrades here, and my wife's been helping us out with that. So if you like the lighting a little better, that's because my wife's doing it. If you like some of the background stuff we have, that's because my wife's doing it. And Dave and I just come here and do what we do.
Blabber on, yep.
So this show, we're going to talk about current events, things that impact Duluth, Minnesota, other things. We'll talk about them in depth. We'll cover some stories that you may not have heard about. We'll put links to it when we post it in our live to video section. And then we'll just talk a while. So this is an opportunity to understand a conservative's point of view without a bunch of screaming, without a bunch of yelling. And we basically have that because we don't have any dissenting opinions on us right now. But yeah, who knows at some point. All right, so we're going to get into it. And I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while. So we've been watching what's happening in Minneapolis with the riots, and they call them peaceful protesters. I cannot call that a peaceful protest because they're getting in people's faces. They're going to where people are working. These are ICE agents that do their job. They're going there, they're harassing them, they're throwing things at them, they're spitting them. Not everybody and not all the time, but it is happening. So it kind of edges off of peaceful protest, which you would assume would be something like people marching down the street or going to a representative's office and making their opinions known. They're actually going to where active ICE operations are happening and trying to circumvent those by making a bunch of noise, by running people off. So they're not protesting necessarily, they're engaging. So I wrote something on my Facebook's page, and I want to show it here. And I want to go through it because I want to talk about, this is the dialogue that we were having. And it's hard to have a dialogue with people when they don't want to listen or don't want a dialogue. They just want to talk to you. So this is something I posted. Get her up. Well, that didn't work. I got to put it back. So let me just do this. Here we go. So I wrote this, and it said, I've been reflecting on the chaos in Minneapolis. And the reason I was reflecting on it is because I was looking at it going, people are saying that they want to calm the temperature. They want to lower the temperature and calm things down. But it sure doesn't seem like that's the case. So I was looking at it, and all I hear is our elected officials saying, you know what, ICE needs to do this. The federal agents need to do that. But they're not talking about what they could do or what the protesters themselves could do to lower the temperature. So this is why I wrote this. And so I said, I broke this down to two things. The elected officials is stop telling people to go protest ICE agents who are actively executing their duties. You're putting civilians in a hostile, dangerous environment. The agents are not acting on their own initiative. They don't make the decision to go do this. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're being told to do lawful things that have been passed into laws for many years under many different administrations. It's not safe to protest, and you know it. It's not safe to go out there where they're doing their job and get in their faces and scream at people. And the politicians know that, but they're not telling them not to do it. They're saying to actually engage into it. They're trying to get them to do it more. Ask the police to detain illegal aliens if arrested and turn them over to ICE agents. By doing this, the agents don't need to go to the community to arrest them being the people that are illegal aliens in the country and they're going to arrest. Stop telling the federal government they need to de-escalate. It's a subversive move that tells the protesters that they just hang on longer, they'll get what they want. And you're not helping anyone. You don't have the power to make the federal government stop. So stop telling the federal government what to do. Because it really is. It's like they're listening and going, oh, you know what? Hey, if we just do this a little longer, it must be working. So we're going to keep doing it. And I don't think it's going to work. It clearly, that's the message. And then I had advice for protesters. Stop calling these peaceful protests. If you're screaming in someone's face, blowing horns and crashing cymbals, you're trying to agitate and provoke a response. It's not illegal, but it's not peaceful. And if you did this to somebody in a bar, you get a little more direct response. So you go up and scream in somebody's face in a bar, start crashing cymbals, you're going to get punched in the face pretty soon. And that's going to happen a lot faster than what happens with the ICE agents. They've shown a lot of restraint, but over time, it really eats away at people. Stay across the street and away from the people who are actively engaging with ICE. That's just a self-preservation thing. Stay away from people going after it, because that's where the bad stuff happens. And you might not be doing anything wrong, but proximity to it could get you splash damage. And you don't want to do that. So if you're going to be a protester, be smart about how you do it. So you stay away from I'm not saying go miles away. I'm saying step away from it. If it's starting to escalate, get yourself away. Less likely you're going to get hurt. Really think hard about carrying a weapon, and then don't do it if you don't have to. Basically, I'm saying you have a right to carry. You have a Second Amendment right to have an arm. If you have a conceal and carry, you can conceal it. But think about why you want to do it. Is it to protect yourself? Then, yeah, you have to make that decision. If you bring a weapon, if you bring a handgun, you're elevating your position. A lot worse things can happen when you're armed than when you're not armed. And we saw that. Demand that the Minnesota police detain and hand over illegal aliens to ICE. So try to make, if you're really protesting that this is happening in your neighborhoods, stop it from happening in your neighborhoods. And by doing this, by going to the police and saying, please hold on to these illegals and hand them over. And I understand that one of the police officials came out and said, that's what we're doing. So it's good if they're doing it. Let's make sure they're doing it. I heard conflicting reports about it. So I don't know, what is right and what's wrong, but I'm saying they should be doing that. Encourage any illegal aliens to self-deport and then apply to come back. Then they don't have this fear. They don't have to worry about getting deported because they're doing it the right way. They get paid to do it, actually. They're getting money to actually leave the country and come back. And then they have the option to come back. So if you really care about them, tell them to go while they can and then come back. And then don't blame the ICE agents. Blame the people that got us in these conditions in the first place. That's the politicians. That's Tim Walz. That's Amy Klobuchar. That's Joe Biden. He's no longer around with that, but that's Kamala Harris. ICE agents wouldn't be in their people's neighborhoods right now if they didn't create that big mess in the last 4 years. They had unprecedented number of people come into this country. And now we have to go into the neighborhoods and get rid of them. And protest the policymakers. That's kind of in the same line. Go to where you might make a change. You're not going to change by going to ICE agents. You may make a change if you go to politicians. They're the ones who make the rules. Those are the rules that are being followed. And then basically, the ICE agents don't make the laws. Write to your elected representatives at the state and federal level. Make sure to point out why you think people who have entered this country illegally and without security screening or background checks should be allowed to stay. Describe why we should let people who have committed horrendous crimes against men, women, and children in our country stay without facing any penalties. And I'm saying this because some of these protesters are protesting in front of people who've done horrendous crimes, and some of them get away because they're alerted, which is what their goal is. So this is who you're supporting and trying to protect. Make the argument of why I should agree with you too. I would like to hear that argument, and I haven't heard it yet. So that was what I posted. I tried to talk about how we could calm things down. And so then I got some response. And I want to show some of the responses because this tells you how the arguments go. Anytime I get into a discussion with this, it's not a discussion. It's basically a dressing down to me, but they don't really tell me anything. So they say, so this person said, peaceful means not non-violent, not non-disruptive. Okay, I understand that, but I think, and I'm going to comment on this as I read it. Protest by definition is often disruptive. It's not by definition, but that's okay. Now, while This person agrees protesters shouldn't directly engage the agents, which is good. Many of these protesters do not do that or set out to do it. I agree. They're not doing it. They may just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I'm not saying that they're all doing this. And that's one thing to keep in mind. When I say things, I'm not talking about everybody. It's not an all. It could be a small percentage. I'm talking about that percentage. I'm talking about you. When you're trying to protect yourself, you make good decisions about yourself. You're responsible for you. While they may heckle, they do not approach or set out to impede the agents. That's absolutely wrong. They do that. That's what that one woman who got shot first, she was putting her car in the road in trying to impede the officers. So you can't say they're not doing it. They clearly are doing that. And they're clearly trying to block the streets. Now they're not being allowed to, and that's when the ICE agents engage. If they're across the street and out of the street, they don't do anything to them from what I've seen. The legal observers who are trained to watch and record, again, may heckle, but they often get engaged with agents because agents consider that a threat because they aren't trained for this and don't like having their authority questioned. I don't know how you came to this conclusion. And these are the same people that have been doing this job for years. On the Obama administration, the Biden administration, Trump administration, Bush, Clinton, all the way back. Tom Holmgren, the guy who's in charge right now in Minneapolis, he was actually awarded a medal by Barack Obama. He's been in this job a long time. While you blame protesters and observers, I blame agents who rush training and training historically that is not for urban environment and SWAT style raids to deliver what is essentially a country eviction notice. Again, I guess I'm not as involved with their training to speak to it. I don't think they're rushed through, but maybe they are. But I don't know how she knows it either because she's a nurse. And how to discern their target from the noise. There are plenty of historical examples of protesters screaming in the face of riot police and said police not engaging them until they needed to. I think we've seen that here too. These brutes, now we're using language to make sure that we're getting emotion here, engage at their first sign of opposition. That's blatantly not true too. I've seen them getting screamed at, rushed at. They don't do anything. They tell them to walk back. You tell you what, days and weeks of the same thing over and over again is going to wear these guys down too. So you're putting them on edge intentionally. Instead of don't protest so loudly, how about train these guys better? Okay, like I said, I'm not trying to give advice to people on how to do their job. I'm trying to say, if you want to lower the temperature, here's some ideas. I've heard plenty of examples to the federal agents. I hear nothing from the politicians about how the protesters, God forbid, the protesters might cool the temperature a little bit too. They're the ones going to the agents, right? Blah, blah, blah. That's what folks are protesting, observing. These poorly trained brutes are storming in SWAT raid style to address what is technically a civil violation, not a criminal one. Okay, so now she's going into the technicality of what it is to be an illegal alien. So she's trying to sugarcoat it to make it look like, hey, that's no big deal. Yeah, it's fine. Here being in an unauthorized status can mean many things. It does not automatically mean sneaked across the border. In those situations, visas may have lapsed while they're in the various stage of the immigration. If they're lapsed, they should leave or they have to take care of it. But you're trying to excuse this because this is what you want. This is a long one. Holy God, I forgot how big this was. Violent criminals violation, that's not a criminal violation, does not warrant addressing. 85% of the folks deported last year did not have criminal records. Again, the point is to get rid of every illegal alien that's in this country because we're not able to vet them. And I'm going to go into that in my response to that. I can speak from experience here in the cities that there are several people that have been detained and deported without criminal records as well. If they're here illegally, I don't care if you call it a civil violation or not. They should be taken out. It doesn't matter. Seen above unauthorized status, more accurate term that is the broad use is criminal illegal alien. I never said criminal illegal alien, by the way. I said illegal alien. They're also taking people who happen to have authorized status as well, or have permission to be here while they work on the next step in their process. And that's not even or just a majority of violent criminals they are removing. So she's continuously going on with, it's not so bad. We shouldn't do this because, well, it's just not, it doesn't, hasn't raised to the level where I think it's bad, even though it's against the law and it's a federal law. And there's a lot of reasons not to. I don't think it's bad. So I choose not to follow this law. I think it's fine. If they came in here in good faith, blah, blah, blah. I absolutely resent the fact that you are putting this on the protesters and objectors, something we are absolutely allowed to do as Americans and something I'm proud to do when I see the right and safety of my neighbors being unjustly violated. Again, I'm not blaming anybody for anything. I'm not saying anybody's at fault for anything. If you can look at my previous post, that's not what I'm saying. So I don't know where she gets that. She resents the language I'm using to describe human beings trying to immigrate into this country. They're not trying to immigrate. They snuck into the country, right?
Yeah.
Sure, some reform is needed. Dehumanizing language is such. You're calling these ICE agents brutes and ill-trained, but I do as a technical term, which is illegal alien. Illegal being you came here, but outside the legal process. Alien being you are not from this area. It does not have a negative connotation except for what you're putting onto it. Here we are. The country was built on the back of immigrants, of course, not settlers, immigrants, I guess. And finally, I resent that in all you called out, you do nothing to call it the DHS or agents themselves. Do better. So I got a couple of things like this. Unless you're attacking the people they don't like, you're absolutely wrong, 100%. I didn't talk about the federal agents, like I said, because that's all I've been seeing from the politicians and the protesters, what the federal agents should do differently. But I don't see anything about what your protesters should be doing differently. Oh, and you can't wholly support the Second Amendment and then tell people to think carefully about when and where they lawfully carry. I absolutely can. That's ludicrous. Of course, I support the Second Amendment, but be smart about it. Don't just randomly walk around. You're going to walk around downtown with the gun in your hand, waving in the air. Bad idea. Especially when just a few years ago, a young man carried an AR-15 to a protest, actually killed people, and still walked away alive. We're not even going to go to get into Kyle. If you can't see the difference between this situation and that, you're beyond help, I think.
That's right.
Sharing here because I'm so angry and heartbroken. Okay, so now the emotion comes in, the manipulation part, right? VA employee here, my VA family is hurting. I'm also just so disappointed in this response. I can't stay silent. You coulda. You really coulda. I know I won't change your mind. You got to give me a compelling argument to change my mind. Wasn't just going to scroll past without saying something, but I will now unfollow. See, there's the other emotional manipulation, right? Yeah, gotcha now.
Right, yeah.
I don't have time or energy to hold space in my life for people who hold views like this anymore. So sanctimonious, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how many people have you cut off because you just don't like their opinion?
I don't think anybody. I mean, I stopped watching some actors act. That's about the extent of it. All right, so I'm going to keep going. Bear with me. I'm 20 minutes in. I might as well get through the end. So I tried to put a response to that. I was thinking maybe I can get through and just kind of explain kind of the things I'm explaining here live. So I explained this in other sense because I had to respond to somebody else who said the same thing. If you reread my post, there's nowhere I blame anyone for anything other than I do blame politicians for creating this situation, this invasion. So remember, they're talking about, 200 ICE agents coming into Minneapolis, invading Minneapolis. We've had 25 million people from other countries, not documented, coming into our country. That's not an invasion. So I consider that an invasion. No. You've jumped to conclusions and made a lot of assumptions what I apparently didn't say. I'm trying to give some reasonable suggestions how to de-escalate. I didn't mention that the federal agents can do because that's all I've been hearing about. I've said that before. I have no new suggestions for that. Very little chance they would see them. There is a good chance that some protesters would see what I posted and some politicians. And because I'm trying to make it safer. That's my suggestions. I have tangible and logical reasons why all illegal aliens should be deported from our country. The reasons have to do with national security, housing, disease prevention, healthcare, and childcare. I have yet to hear a logical and compelling case for having them stay where the citizens of this country benefit in a way other than cheap labor. I have heard that. I don't buy that.
No.
If you have some of these points, I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd prefer it not to do it in this forum because I don't want to do it back and forth. I will respond once and then I'm done. Okay, so I thought, well, we're done now, right? And it should probably either she's not going to respond at all, or it'll just be something like, really what she should have responded is, you're absolutely right. Everything you say is right, and you're the smartest guy in the world. But, I just don't get that all the time. And here it is. Here's the last response to this last thing we're going to do. Remember, we communicate a lot in what we don't say. I don't know how you work with that, Dave.
Yeah, that's one of those negative statements that you just can't process. So.
I didn't communicate. I didn't say anything because I had nothing to add. Hence, now we're getting into the higher up speech, right? Hence, how this reads is calling for change from those groups to improve conditions, but not the agents themselves. Agents aren't causing the problem. They're reacting to it. Your statements about protesters, while they do not specifically state blame, have the same energy as rape prevention interventions aimed at the victim instead of the perpetrators not raping, a type of victim blaming. That just is a launch to me. I just cannot understand. So what this is trying to get the attention again and trying to quiet me down because she's trying to say I'm associated with those kind of people. And I absolutely am not. And that is a really bad thing to go into. That is a horrible line to take. And that's one of those, okay, we're done now kind of lines.
Right.
That sentiment is in your response too. And maybe if more than one person hears that your post, it's time to consider what you said and what you didn't say, even if unintended. I can't work out unintended consequences of how you read things. It's not going to happen. This is why I don't like doing it over text.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm not opposed to deportations in general. It's how this approach is being done. And the fact they are just not just taking violent criminals. So if you sneak in here, you're in. Boom. You're done. I guess that's it. So if somebody breaks into your house and they're not a violent criminal, you just let them stay, I guess.
And
that's
take
all you
care
have
of
to
them,
do. If somebody works into a concert without paying the ticket, you just let them stay, I guess. They've got past it. Okay, that's all I can do. I'm not open to discussing immigration with somebody who refers to all unauthorized folks as illegal aliens, which is just a technical term, right? It just is. You want to nuance it. I can nuance it. I can say illegal aliens with a criminal background other than coming into the country illegally. And suggest they are all national security and disease threats. Didn't say that. I said you want to do screening so you don't have national security threats and disease threats. You can't tell me that some of them aren't national security threats and disease threats. I'm not saying they all are, but this is how she takes it, right? I'm casting a huge net, especially when our own country is starting to have a preventable disease problem due to vaccine information. Our current health secretary is fanning the flames, but I digress. Yes, you do, because you don't know if the people who come here undocumented have been vaccinated either. You don't know. That's the whole thing about being undocumented. And that's the thing about being documented. Then you would know that. That is dehumanizing sentiment and painting all unauthorized folks with the same broad strokes. Again, she just assumes I'm talking about everybody when I talk about a category of a bunch of people. I do not believe people can make humanity-based policies when they see a group of people in those lights. So no, I won't be discussing with you. So she's going to tell me what it is. What it is this. It's this argument. I'm going to tell you what's up, and then we're done. I will talk, and then we're done. Nobody else talks. That's how I do it. My purpose here was calling out victim blaming and dehumanizing language that I'm not okay with. And as part of my advocate identity, my role is speaking up about it. Have a great day. That's at the end, So I just found this more, not frustrating even. It's just the same. Almost every discussion I have, I try to wean out, I try to get facts. I try to get logic or arguments. And all I get is emotion back. This is a purely emoting diatribe that she's done here. She takes a lot of stuff I say and she blows it out of proportion. She doesn't seem to get the whole point of it. And I just wanted to go through this because this is what we face a lot when we're trying to have discussions with people who don't want to discuss. They just want to yell at you. So now, if you're watching this, you've seen some of the ideas I have and how I defend it. And if you have this kind of argument when you're doing it with people, maybe that's something you can think about is, well, I can change his mind maybe if I came up with some real good facts. It isn't fact to tell me not everybody is a criminal or has a violent past that's here. I understand that. If we have a zero tolerance policy, we don't have the problem of having people come in here who are not cleared, who are maybe drug mules. And I'm not saying, well, let me just preface that, Dave. I'm not saying everybody's a drug mule.
You must be.
So that's my diatribe for today. What do you think, Dave?
We'll call them unprocessed criminals instead of illegal aliens. But
unprocessed criminals. See, now that I could see somebody getting mad about.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats, the lefties won't get. For some reason, they invited him in. They didn't. Trump is at 600,000 deportations. Biden was at 2 million, even though he let in 20 million. There was no protest for Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bush. In my personal opinion, I don't believe it has anything to do with which party. They hate Trump. It's just Trump derangement syndrome, flat out. Orange man bad. Therefore, everything he does is we need to go against it.
Well, there's other things too. You know what we're not talking about anymore in the state? Billions of dollars of fraud. So they're happy to have this distraction here.
Yeah, and we're going to show later in the show about how involved the DFL is in this doing these protests. How involved they are in making sure that these protests happen. Yeah. The place is burning down. How come the National Guard hasn't been called out yet? I mean, obviously, it's not as bad as George Floyd protests, but still, at what point do you send these people home? Get the National Guard out. The ICE would have been gone already if they weren't having to deal with the people across the, screaming at them and blowing whistles all day long.
Right.
So
it's interesting too, because now I'm seeing the police taking a different approach in the last 2 days. The police are declaring unlawful assemblies and they're arresting people and charging them ever since Homan came. So there was a conversation between Walz and Trump said it was a good conversation. And since then, something changed at the state level. There is stuff going on. So keep the protesters safe, keep them separated. If they want to protest where they are. But the thing is, now they're busting up the signal chat thing. Now they don't know where they are. So they used to just absolutely know where these guys were all the time. Now they don't know it, so they're able to do their job.
And that's it. There wouldn't have been any shootings. There wouldn't have been any problems if people would have just stayed on the far side of the street quietly or ignored them completely.
They can
boom. They'd have been in and
out.
out.
They can bang their drum or whatever they want to do. Just stay away from them. Get out of their face. Don't try to block the traffic. That's all they ask. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen them do anything to anybody that wasn't in their face.
Right. They didn't. Texas has gotten rid of a lot more illegal aliens, and they've yet to disperse a single can of, smoke or pepper spray. Why is that?
Right.
Well, because people are staying away from them. Very
Right.
simple.
It's interesting too, though. I'm saying this when I say I haven't seen it. There's going to be some people doing things wrong. There's always going to be that.
Yeah.
I won't blanket statement saying everything they're doing is right. You agitate these guys long enough, you keep getting in their face, you keep getting in the way. There's going to be problems. Something's going to happen. Something already happened twice. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm saying that you're getting in their way. The more you do it, the more chance you are going to have a bad outcome. And that's what we've seen.
Yeah, and you get that mob mentality. The mob riles itself up, and that's when bad things happen.
Right.
So don't bring your kids to these things because that's
No.
gonna make it even worse.
No, I've seen that.
And don't teach your kids stupid stuff like that.
Well, they're bringing their babies too. I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, your job is to keep your kids safe. Keep them away from it. Kids won't know anything's going on, honestly.
Right.
All right. Wow, I chewed a lot of time with that. That's a half hour. We're gonna have to skip through some of these things. I think this one though is pretty good. You want to play this?
As a historian, I've studied how empathy, a very noble human trait, can be twisted into something destructive. Suicidal empathy is when compassion is so unchecked, so manipulated, that it leads to the harm of the very thing you're trying to protect. The primary demographic in the news right now that's being activated, liberal women. Many are extremely intelligent. Denying this will not help the truth come to light. You make jokes about liberal white women being stupid, and they just immediately think you're ignorant and discredit your narrative. They aren't stupid. And this tactic is not new. It has worked historically over and over again. The propaganda machines of the 20th century, Nazi Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union, were emotional appeals to protect the vulnerable, masking the authoritarian grab for power. Today, it's subtle, but no less insidious. Social media algorithms, those invisible puppeteers, flooding feeds with curated outrage, stories of marginalized groups suffering under fascist policies, nuance out the window. These women who don't typically dive deep into politics encounter a barrage of headlines and viral posts painting the administration as a dystopian nightmare, suppressing freedoms, eroding democracy, all while ignoring the complexities of government and laws that have been implemented across multiple administrations. Their empathy is hijacked and replaced with ego. I know better. I care more. It blinds them to the bigger picture. Policies framed as saving democracy are actually eroding it. Propaganda sponsored by interests that thrive on chaos, transforming smart women into foot soldiers in a war against the very republic they are demanding we protect. Their good intentions become tools for division. Did you know these same dark forces attempted to pit suffragettes against each other? Instead of fighting for the right to vote collectively, they argued and fought with each other over tactics. Who cared more? Sound familiar? It wasn't until they consolidated their message, practiced consistent but peaceful protesting, and used logic and facts rather than feelings to get their point across that led to success. We must reclaim empathy with wisdom. Question the feeds. Is this AI? Is this an angle that might be misleading? Seek historical context rather than just calling someone you disagree with a Nazi. And check the law. If someone has broken it or placing themselves against law enforcement, we live in a country where there will be consequences. Weaponized compassion will divide us. It will dismantle the freedoms we have fought hard to protect. My advice, don't fight emotion with emotion, and don't assume that logic will break through to someone who is in an emotional state. As hard as it is, let them be. Just keep putting the facts out there for the world to see and hold yourself accountable. This isn't right versus left anymore. This is truth versus engineered chaos, and we are all capable of engaging.
That was a really good statement she made there. A lot of really good stuff. We need to understand just how propagandized we are in every different way. I'll give you an example of this. I was just having a conversation with an 82-year-old woman, and she said something about how, what's going on with Greenland? Why are we trying to invade Greenland? What do we want up there? My response was, you know what? I don't really know anything about Greenland. I understand the basic concept of where it's positioned and where it can be a place where Russia could come over. But otherwise, I really don't know that much about Greenland. Why do you? Right? Why does this 82-year-old woman know anything? And trust me, This is a person who does not pay any attention to international politics, international stuff, very, very local person. But suddenly they have an opinion about what we should do with Greenland. I don't. I have an opinion that we should be smart about it and not get into a war about it. But she has an opinion about Greenland. And when I asked her why, boy, I think that opened some doors here. It's like, yeah, why do I care about, I don't know anything about Greenland, but I have this strong opinion about it. That's what you got to see every time. Why are you so mad about something?
Yeah, I basically had the same conversation. It's like, why are we going to war with Greenland? And it's like, we're not going to war with Greenland. There's 56,000 people there. We have a 300,000 plus military. There's going to be no war. It's going to be, if we need something out of Greenland, we're going to go and politely ask for it. This is part of Trump's how to bargain with people. It's very simple. So now there was no war. He got what he wanted. We got our military bases up there to protect the United States, and there was no war.
Right.
Zero war. Not a single gun was even brandished. We have more guns in the Twin Cities going after ICE.
Yeah. He goes way overboard, dials it back and gets what he wants, or maybe more. You never know. It depends on how nervous people get. But I don't disagree with the location and that we need, but I just don't know enough about it. And I'm not going to get smart enough about it to really have a strong opinion about it, unless you're going to tell me we have to send our guys there to die or we're going to nuke it. I got opinions about that, but your negotiation stuff, if you get it done, great. Let's play that Greg Gutfeled clip, because I thought that was pretty good. So he's on a Fox News channel, and there's one woman there that set him off. Got it?
Yep.
Or do you? I'm not going to vamp anymore. So he lays out a lot of the stuff I said earlier in the show too.
We get here an open border that let millions in, and you guys didn't give 2 Alex.
Started from the beginning.
All right. We had nothing you said matters. Every single
Welcome
thing.
back, Greg.
No, everything you said does not matter.
It does
It doesn't. Because everything you mentioned are the consequences of the. Oh, you can go ahead and scoff. How did we get here? Pull back. How did we get here? An open border that let millions in, and you guys didn't give 2
Alex Pretti.
Okay.
Snuck right through that border.
All right. We had dozens of deaths where you didn't say shit. Jocelyn, Nungary, Laken Riley, Rachel Moran, Molly Tibbetts. I'm going to just do it because this is just, I can't believe that we're still talking about this stuff. Here's 3 pages of women who have been murdered by illegal aliens in the last 7 or 8 years. The 7 or 8 years that we have been here talking about this and mocked over it. When we showed the embassy, showed the border being overrun, and people laughed at us. And now you're here. It's like you're the maid trying to clean up a mess, and somebody there is staring at you going, oh, you got to clean it up better. No, you made the mess. This is the Democrat Party's mess that we are trying to clean up. And you're saying, wow, these ICE agents are using terrible language. We don't care. I'm bored by this. I'm absolutely bored by this. I'm bored by the Nazi stuff. I'm bored by the concerned people in the media. They were not concerned when innocent women were raped and murdered. They didn't care about the 50 who died when they were incarcerated under Obama. They didn't care about the 27 or 30 that were shot under Obama. But now they care now. You deserve no attention on this. You deserve no credibility on this. It's actually comical because here's my feeling. It seems like you're ready for another one. You had good, that went for a couple of weeks. You had this guy, went for a week or so. You're going to need a third one. This is what this is about, because this is what creates the motivation for this drama that could have been prevented if you guys just listened to the sensible people. Why is it that the cities that aren't sanctuary aren't having any violence? Why is it that the rate of violence in what's the name of the city? Minneapolis is 5 to 7 times higher than cities that are 3 or 4 times larger. Why is that? You guys are always feigning this performative ignorance since you don't understand things. You never explain your own ignorance. Why is there so much violence in Minneapolis and not in Texas? Well, see, there are different people. There are people who, when they hear an awful crime, when Molly Tibbetts is murdered, they think of their wife, they think of their kids, they think of their sister, they think of their mother. What do Democrats think about? There's a step before they even think about their family. They think, how does it affect my public persona? How does it affect my potential politically? How do I deal with this so that I get instant gratification and empathy? We don't think like that. We don't care. You can call me a monster that's saying all these people get deported. I don't care. I don't care about any of this performance anymore, Jessica. It's done. And you know what? Neither does Trump. People are voted for the law. They want the law. If you want to cry about murders and rapists, do it on your own time.
That guy was on fire. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
He said what I was saying.
He's right, though.
But articulately and smartly.
But that's, he was right, though. I mean, where was the outrage or in the riots when the illegals were killing people, raping people?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically back to Sophie's Choice, the movie. It's like, okay, which kid are you going to put up to get murdered and not be offended by it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes no sense.
But he's right too. It's like, yeah, it's going on for years. Now all of a sudden you're angry about it. And you know what it is? It's because this is how they focus their electorate during midterms and elections.
Right.
They get that single issue. And I think they're really disappointed that the fire is going on these two. They really need another one, like he said. And I've been thinking about this. I'm going to talk to people on Saturday, but if you got the big Venn diagram of all the issues going on, you got legal immigration here, and you got taxes, and you got mining for Minnesota, and you've got fraud, and you've got regulations, and you've got nuclear plants, everything. That's our whole thing of everybody of issues that we have to worry about. And the Republicans worry about all the issues, and the Democrats worry about the issues, but the Republicans worry about all the issues. So you can be a candidate and you can go, I'm for energy independence, and I want to get all the illegal aliens out, and I think that abortion should be, up to 3 months as negotiating, and then we'll let the social people take care of the other stuff. And Republicans go, yeah, I agree with the energy, I agree with the taxes, I agree with the mining, I agree with the regulations, but that abortion thing, I'm pretty hard line on that. So I just am going to sit this one out. That's Republicans. So their Venn diagram, always the same. The Democrats have the ability, and I'm not saying all the Democrats don't care about every one of these issues. The party or the mechanism or the media has the ability to focus them in on one tiny little spot of it. We saw this at the last election. It was abortion. You're going to take away my right to have an abortion. That's all I care about, and that's what I'm going to vote for. And I'm coming out to vote, and I will never vote for somebody who doesn't say absolutely every abortion all the time. They're doing it this time too. This is about the illegal immigration, legal aliens. They're focusing them, and that's what they want, because they want people riled up to come out and vote for a single item. And they don't have that problem of, I agree with 90% of what you're saying, but I just don't like that 10%. So I'm just not going to vote. They don't have that problem. It is all in all the time. And that's why we face a big, hard problem in this city, especially about elections. So there, I can be a diatribe too. I'm going to show this comment, Dave, because I totally agree with it. Never, ever vote Democrat liberal. Never. Absolutely 100% agree with you.
And that's the thing about this coming up election is they're trying to distract. We're in the distract mode right now to the massive fraud, the massive incompetence of the Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. We'll show later how the Democrats are creating this chaos for the ICE agents.
Yep.
So they're completely distracting from their own failures, is what it boils down to. So yeah, you're right. Never vote for Democrats because we keep doing that. And then call your representative. They're doing what is it called, the SAFE Act this year.
Mhm.
The SAFE Act is, or is it SAVE? I think it's
I think
SAVE
it's
Act.
safe. I think it's safe,
Save.
but I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. To require voter ID for elections. Very
Yeah.
simple. If we do that in Minnesota, we'll never see another Democrat win another election, in my opinion.
Right. So I'm going to skip over a couple of these and say, so Tom Homan has come to Minneapolis, and the Minnesota Democrats have agreed apparently to hand over dangerous illegals to ICE, and they signed some agreements. That's good news. And we've seen a big change this last couple of days. And I'll be really interested to see if the protesters now switch over to Tim Walz and Mayor Fry. Is it Fry or Fry?
Small fry.
Small Fry.
Well, I think it's Fry, but small fry works just as good.
I keep hearing Fry. So, and then
I think it is small fry. We'll call him small fry. Everyone will know who it's supposed to be. So.
Yeah, so that's that article. We can take that off. We won't even show this next one, but protesters in Minnesota are being attacked, who are attacking ICE agents. These are the ones that are going after them and actually causing problems, are being charged with fourth-degree assault. This is a huge change from the previous catch and release.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. We're seeing progress. Do that. Stop these guys from attacking people, and you won't have these problems. You won't have this flare up that we're having. And then make your message known. If you really want to protest, go make your message known to the right people.
Yeah, because the ICE agents aren't going to be defensive if they're have nothing to be offensive for. So
right. 1 second, I got to check on my daughter's glucose level because it was low. So let's talk about there's a U of M person attached to a group going against ICE, and that just is bothering me from all the things I'm seeing from U of M. I don't know why I give them one more dime. I'm being forced to give them lots of dimes through my taxes, but I don't know why I would give them anything at this point when they do not take care of this problem.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Why is the state giving them any money?
At this point, I don't know. I've been wondering, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here for education. I don't know why we haven't gone to more online education and having kids learn from home. I understand there's problems socially. And I know that there's ways we can get around that because a lot of people educate their kids at their homes. You have sessions at your house, and then you may have an hour or two that you go to a activity center, or one day a week that you do activities or something like that. That would be a good way to save some money and consolidate the teaching so that we don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars per student for education. It's like home education, but abroad. The whole reason we have schools is because you didn't used to be able to do that, right? You couldn't be on a farm and then have a teacher come out, but now you can virtually. It seems like a really good way to save money and a good way to save time. You can have these classes. They don't actually have to be all live. They could be canned classes. How many times did we go to a class and watch a movie? Teacher didn't need to be there.
Right. Well, especially in like a state like Minnesota where, you freeze to death.
Yeah.
Standing up waiting for the bus,
Right.
It's good to, hey, we're going to have class from home now. So,
yeah. All right, let's go on to someone did something. So apparently Ilhan Omar was having a speech and some idiot squirted her with some kind of liquid. And I don't know what he would be thinking to do that. And I don't know what you accomplish by doing stupid things like attacking people like that. So first of all, I think this guy is a complete moron. But now I want to just slightly go off on a little thing here. She got sprayed. And there's people there that were like, you need to go get checked out. You don't know what was in that liquid. You better go get yourself checked out. A reasonable response to something like that happening, right?
Yep.
She refused to go get checked out. So she could keep doing her speech. I don't know if she thinks that makes her seem tough, but it seems to me that that's just crazy. Like how could you not? And then she went out and she talked to people afterwards, just exposing them all. I mean, if you get sprayed by a liquid by some lunatic in your audience, you go get checked out just to make sure he didn't do something really bad. It's a danger to you. It's a danger to everybody at the place. So was she in on it? That's the other thing you can say. Okay, well, maybe if she's in on it, obviously it makes sense why she wouldn't go get checked out. But assuming she wasn't in on it, how stupid is it not to go get checked out? I don't understand it. So you're in on it or you're not that bright. Which one is worse?
Well, they found out that the guy who did it, his ex-wife was a huge party member for the Democrats, who not only donated money and worked for AOC and Ilmar. So he was already associated with the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
So he is a known person to the Democrats. Also, the liquid they found was apple cider vinegar, which can be purchased at any Walmart. It's a health food.
Yeah.
So he had zero intentions of harming her, and so
it's tough to get in the brain of a guy who would do something like that, though. You can't reason like him, right? You don't know what he's thinking. He's an idiot. I know my wife's probably going to text me and tell me if I'm calling people idiots again. Nope, not yet. I'm waiting for it.
If you were going to do a conspiracy theory on this, but that the whole thing was set up, there's just way too many things that just don't add up. Mm-hmm. And I forgot to grab the picture of her getting arrested in Washington, D.C. for that sit-in, where she's walking away with her arms behind her back like she was handcuffed. Well, the picture from behind shows she wasn't handcuffed. She was just putting her hands. Hopefully you remember that
to make it look like she'd been handcuffed. Yeah,
correct. So for her to lie about something like that isn't out of her realm. Yeah. So until this whole investigation gets completed, I can see how people can think it's easily faked. So.
Well, did you see that one Somali woman who came up when she had a big Band-Aid on her head? The bananas and rice lady? That just seemed wrong too. I mean, maybe I just am too skeptical about things, but it just seemed weird to me.
And she was arrested for disorderly conduct towards ICE after that interview. So, in one of the ex posts that I seen showed her being arrested by the, we talked just recently about the people getting the protesters getting arrested. Well, she was part of that group. So
okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna put something on here I didn't actually put on our list, but I have to say it. But apparently, Tim Walz has said that he will never again run for public office. That's the best news I've heard in a while. So do you remember when we talked about when he got picked by Kamala Harris to run as a running mate? I said, excellent. He'll put a spotlight on Minnesota and people will actually figure out what he's all about. That's exactly what. So if you want to look at the one thing Kamala Harris accomplished in her whole term of vice president, it was getting Tim Walz kicked out, because if it hadn't happened, if he hadn't been picked, I think strongly he would have just been going on to an easy third term.
Yes. But we're going to go back to the technicalities of running. He's getting, or lying, I should say, because if Amy Klobuchar becomes the governor, she gets to appoint a person into her position. Well, that would make the conspiracy theory true because he wouldn't be running for her position. She would just appoint him to that position,
Right.
which is still completely possible. So,
Very possible.
yeah.
Let's see. Speaking of Walz, let's pop that next one up. Somebody was talking to him about the fraud. So then we're going to talk about a little bit of the Minnesota fraud because I don't want this to go away completely, but at the same time,
this fraud investigation and the
go ahead and play it.
reason that they're here. Is there anything you think, when you look back, you could have done differently to prevent them from showing up and doing what they're doing here?
No, they were coming anyway. It was all make believe that we'd been at it. Every state had this. And look, I do think there has to be accountability in this. No one in state government was implicated. This happens all over. People did this. We got it caught. We put them in jail or whatever.
You mentioned this fraud investigation and the reason.
He's so full of crap. Nobody in the state office is implicated. So they're all just incompetent.
Yeah.
People came from another country speaking a different language and were able to take advantage of you in less than 5 years. Good job. Nicely done. He speaks like such a child too. It's all make believe.
Right.
Let's not post this one, but I'm going to post a link. Department of Health and Services, an official, has been warning of welfare fraud since 2019. And then there's one person that did it, and their response was to investigate that person. So when they said there's fraud, they turned around and said, "Oh, we need to investigate you. You must be dirty." So they've been working interference for these fraud investigations for a number of years.
Yeah.
And if you're not from Minnesota and watching it, Dave and I have been talking about this fraud for many years and what's going on down there. But the local news media, especially in Duluth, Minneapolis Tribune, will not cover this stuff, or they really resist doing it. If they do it, it's a very low key way.
The Red Star.
The Red Star. Let's see. I'm trying to find the juicy stuff because we're already an hour into it.
Yeah, this is going to be a good 4-hour show.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Seattle Mayor, I'm going to skip all the way down to Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson explicitly confirmed she will not investigate claims of Somali daycare fraud. She says investigating the massive fraud of millions of taxpayer money is just dividing and conquering, and refuses to ask police to look into it. That is insanity. You look around and you're like, wow, Minnesota's pretty bad. And then you just look at other places. Yeah, it's just as bad in other places in big cities.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm going to pop up this image that you added. And this is what happens when you actually try to convict people of fraud around here. This is in Minnesota. This judge overturned a guilty verdict in a $7 million Somali Medicare fraud case. This is the judge in the background, right? The white lady.
Yep.
So, and this has happened more than once. A jury actually convicts somebody and the judge just says, no, it's not good enough. And they just overturn it.
Right.
So even when you go after people in the state, it doesn't do anything. That's just craziest.
Yeah. So, finally everyone was doing their job, trying to convict these people, trying to throw these people in jail. And then some paid off judge or some corrupt judge just throws it away.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah. I'm going to skip over some of the Duluth stuff right now, and we'll come back to it. But Amy Klobuchar has confirmed she will be running to replace Governor Walz. So I've said this for a while now, and I thought she was the only logical choice the Democrats could have of having any hope to win, because as interesting as she is, she has support. She has a lot of support. I don't know why she'd give up that cushy job at the Senate. Oh, sorry.
She's got name recognition.
Right. The thing
which is
is
extremely hard to do.
Nothing changes if she gets in. She's just a rubber
Yeah.
stamp for the Democratic Party, just like Tim was. And she'll just back everything he did. She'll hide everything he did. She'll make everything safe for him. So I don't see the benefit of electing her, but it's going to be a tough fight against her. So that's why the Republicans, to stage a real fight, have to narrow down this field awful quickly and start getting some momentum against for the candidate we choose. So I hope that happens pretty soon. I like having a lot of good candidates, but we need to narrow it down because Klobuchar is not going to be easy to book. She has a lot of money to spend.
And she'll be able to spend it based on the state campaign finance laws. So she'll be able to outspend anybody that she comes up against, basically. So
she's got millions just saved up right now. I don't know of another candidate in the Republican Party that has millions of dollars like she does.
No. In February 2nd, she has to disclose all that. So probably the 3rd or early February we'll know how much money she has in the bank to run this election. So
yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
We'll see how many problems we are going to have, or the Republicans are. So
let's go down to the Minnesota stuff where Minnesota Democrats, including elected officials, lead ICE obstruction operations. So we've got a lot of names here. Chantel Allen, St. Paul City Councilwoman Hua Jung Kim, DFL State Rep Brad Tipke, DFL State Rep Alex. What is it? Tabke?
Tabke, yeah, that's what I've heard.
DFL State Representative Alex Falconer, Anita Smithson, Amanda Nicole Kohler, a former Walz campaign strategist and policy advisor, allegedly serves as an administrator with the codename HAH in the Minnesota ICE Watch signal chat. I've heard a lot of stuff that says that she's a lot to do with what's going on with the signal chat stuff.
Yeah. So these are high-ranking Democrats that are directly involved in tracking down ICE, setting up, along with the DFL, setting up those legal observer parties to teach them how to be a pain in the butt and to start problems. So this is after reading this article, it made me believe that this is a manufactured chaos in the Twin Cities.
Oh, absolutely.
Manufactured by the Democrats.
Yeah, it's staged, it's set up. You can see truckloads of similar signs. Those signs cost a lot of money. They're created really quickly. They show up in trucks. They're handing them off like an assembly line. This is not organic. This is paid for.
Right.
I got a comment I'm going to pop up here. MAGA, please make sure you vote for midterms. We have to continue saving our country. Totally agree. Good comment.
Yep. If we get the SAVE Act in and voter ID, that'll be huge for saving Minnesota.
It will be interesting to see that where the voters are and what they really vote for. I haven't seen what I consider a secure election in years. As a software developer, I know how easy it is to manipulate software tools that go into voting machines. It's not an open source system. It should be. Our cryptography is open source. You know why? Because that's the safest way to do things. But our election software is all closed source. And that's just a horrible way to do things. I'm going to come back to Duluth. I'm just going to go into that. Duluth had a city council meeting and they brought their people out. Other people who have jobs don't go to these things, but they got their people out there demanding that ICE be banned from the city and make sure that the city police don't work with them. So that's just a recipe for, hey, make sure that when you police apprehend these people that have done things, put them back in the community so the ICE agents has to go in there and find them, and that can create all sorts of chaos. You're just making things worse. If they've already been apprehended, hand them over to ICE. ICE does the federal law and takes them out. Hey, I got to put this one up. Hey, here we go. Do you find folks read chats? Well, yes, we do. You can't get much more
Counselor-
real-time response than that, right?
Yeah. Duluth City Councilor Wendy Durwatcher, I vow to consider everything on this pamphlet. I will consider it. I'm not going to do it, but I will consider it.
That's the adult equivalent of, we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
The kids always know when dad says, yeah, we'll see. That's just no.
Right.
All right. I'm going
Well,
to briefly mention that. Go ahead.
The first story for Duluth that we had was the 14-year-old pleads not guilty of all charges. He took a shot at a police officer and now he's going to jail over it.
Ooh.
Action, consequence. That's
Right.
what we need.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting story. It's like finally someone's gonna get a consequence for their actions. Hopefully, we'll see.
I mean, I watched John Wick 3. Choices, consequences.
Yeah.
It's all laid out. I will briefly mention these. We don't have to pop them up, but because of all the cold weather we've had, the solar and wind energy has been failing in Texas, which is what we've talked about for many years about how they want to go to solar and wind in Minnesota, which is just the worst idea for this place. And hydro works 6 months out of the year. That's it. And then a bunch of states have signed up for Trump's school choice program. The law allows individual donors to receive a dollar-for-dollar federal tax credit up to $1,700 for contributions to scholarship granting organizations, which then distribute funds to families for private school tuition, tutoring, books, and other educational expenses. Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't like private schools. Most of them are teachers. Obviously, they're going to lose their jobs, or if there's more people homeschooling, they're going to lose their jobs. It makes sense. But homeschooling is, if you can do it, that's the best way a kid can learn. You have to have some kind of social aspect too. Have some kind of community band, some kind of organized sports, something like that. But people have been figuring this out for years. If you can keep the kids educated at home and know what they're learning, it's just the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I will go on to Katie Hobbs. I don't want to talk about Katie Hobbs, Arizona governor. She's a disaster.
Yeah.
Have you ever saw a fake election? That was it. I want to talk about this picture from Elon Musk I've got, which is an interesting thing if you think about it. Now, so you got people here saying we need to have illegal aliens into this country, right? And they need to be able to stay. So he says, how about if we send 100,000 Americans to Greenland, elect an American prime minister, and then vote to join the U.S.? This is exactly what's happening in our countries. But we could do that to Greenland. They only have like 54,000 people there, right?
Yep. Not too many.
There's almost 100,000 people in this city alone. I mean, we got the people. Why don't we just do that? Well, no, that's not the way you do it, right? That's not the way you go into a country. But that's the same that's happening to us.
Yeah, and Europe. So
yeah,
England is.
I would like to know if, from somebody who actually lives out there, if they're seeing what we've been hearing about.
Yeah, is England as bad and being overrun as bad as it sounds like on TV and media?
Right. So let's see. We got a comment asking about the 14th Amendment. I'm going to put it up here.
Like the Fourth Amendment, his other question is, that one's pretty easy because Bill Clinton in 1995 signed the Illegal Immigrant Act, removing all due process for illegal aliens. So that's basically what the Fourth is. And so Bill Clinton got rid of the Fourth for illegal aliens. So that's what the Fourth is all about.
Yeah, and I've never agreed with the 14th Amendment. It's a silly law. It's a silly amendment. And it wasn't silly at the time. It was made for slaves. But
Right.
just because you cross the border, have a baby, that baby is an American citizen, that's not how things should work. Again, let me do a John Wick reference. Just because you get to the Continental and put your hand on the first step doesn't mean that you're safe. That's not how we do foreign national laws around here. So I disagree with it. I think the interpretation is odd, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see what that has to do with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Should we just do the word of the day or the term of the week? We should call it.
Yeah, because you know a little bit more about this than I did, even when I was studying up on it. But yeah, it's not a word, but it's very appropriate for what's going on nowadays. So
1948, the term of the week is Smith-Mundt Act. And this is legislation that was put into effect in 1948, right after World War II, that put a ban on the government propagandizing to the American citizens. The reason this was put into place is because during World War II, Britain, United States got very good at propagandizing. Propaganda was their number one thing. They could do it to the Germans. Germans tried to do it to us too, and they were successful in it as well. But they put this in place so that you couldn't do propaganda to American citizens. The U.S. government should not be doing propaganda against us. And that got stripped away in 2016 when President Obama signed the law to take it away. And ever since then, we've been going downhill. I mean, it seems obvious. That was a key turning point. And what did Thomas Massey say? I voted against the NDAA and I offered an amendment to the 2026 NDAA to reinstate the original prohibition. But Speaker Johnson blocked a vote. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act needs to be repealed. Taxpayer-funded fake news should not be used by the federal government to wage influence campaigns against the American people. Can't agree more. It's not the role of the government to do that. We should take it away. You want to do propaganda against other countries as a CIA kind of thing? I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried about you doing it to us because CIA has thrown over a lot of governments. I don't want them doing it to the United States. That would be the end.
right.
All right, Dave, got anything else for us?
I thought I had something on. Oh, I did have something in health and fitness. Health and fitness. Deadly cancer risks spike with certain level of alcohol consumption. Basically, it says the study came out that says the more you drink, the higher chance you have of colorectal cancer.
Ugh.
So yeah. So if there's a reason not to drink heavy, that's it. So
Well, the good news is you usually die before the cancer gets them. So
yeah, normally your liver's shut down, but so as far as health and fitness goes, it's don't drink to kill yourself, basically, is what it boils down to, and you'll be fine.
Well, on that uplifting note, we're going to end the show for today. Thanks, Dave, for bringing that up to talk about rectal cancer.
Yeah.
I really appreciate people have been liking and subscribing to the channel week upon week. So it's been really nice. We appreciate it because the more people know about this, the more we can have a conversation. And the conversation is what we need to have as opposed to screaming at each other, just not listening. We can talk with each other. You can hear our opinion. At least you have an idea of how we're going about our logic. You can write to me, and then we can have a conversation. So that's what we need to get through. But otherwise, we will be off next week unless Dave does the show. I will be traveling, and I have a lot of stuff going on next week. But unless Dave takes up the challenge and just does the show himself, we'll be skipping a week and coming back 2 weeks.
I think next week I'll just argue everything against you. So
you should do that. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to get my media assets going here. Thank you all for coming. Please like and subscribe if you can. Tell your friends if you want to see it. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
Been Duluth Conservative, a little shaka for you. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks.